It's about that time.
Stone on Sports.
How's it going, everybody? You're tuned in to Stoned on Sports Fantasy Football. My name is Matt. Got the awesome co-host Kyle here with me today. As usual, it's Tuesday. You know what that means. We're talking waiver targets, and it is another bye-mageddon week. We got 6 teams on bye again this week, and for a lot of you, the timing could not be worse. But fear not, we're here to help you fill those holes in your roster and help propel you on to playoff success.
Yeah.
Kind of like what the Lions are going to do this year. Kyle, how the hell you doing, dude?
Doing great. Yeah. If, you're either, at this point, comfortably in the playoffs, you're eliminated from contention and probably crying your eyes out, or this week, you're facing a win and in situation. So you need this advice. You have to have this advice. Am I right? I'm right.
I think so.
And then, like, if you're in fab leagues too, just a side note, it's time to empty the coffers this week. Go get who you can get. You probably don't need to spend as much as usual because there's less guys bidding because they're not even in it anymore. Just bid wisely. That's all. Piece of advice.
Can't take it with you.
This is true. First guy we got for you is a quarterback. Drake Maye is QB 10 since week 6. His floor is pretty high. He is on a bye this week, but he may be a good stash for use in the fantasy playoffs. What do you think, man?
It's a little iffy, right? You mentioned he's on bye this week, so if you can afford to burn the roster spot, he's somebody to look into. He's got a tough matchup in week 15 against the Cardinals, who are allowing the second fewest points per game to quarterbacks since week 8. After that, he gets the Bills, who allow the fewest points to quarterbacks, and the Chargers, who are 13th. So if you make it to championship week, at least you got a halfway decent matchup, but you got to get there first. New England's 218 pass yards per game is the 6th fewest. Nope, that is the Cardinals. They allow 218 passing yards per game, which is the 6th fewest, and their 8.4 rush yards to QBs per game is the 4th fewest. They only have 1 interception in that time frame, but they have allowed just 4 passing touchdowns and no 300-yard passing days. But quite frankly, if you have Drake Maye, you're not really looking for that 300-yard passing day. You're looking for him to produce on the ground. Like you mentioned, since taking over the starting role in week 6, he's a QB 10 in total points, QB 18 in points per game, and he's turned in 5 games over 17 points. Dude is more than capable on the ground as well. He has 4 games of 5 or more rush attempts, including each of his last 2. As a starter, his average game output, 21 of 31 for 209. He's thrown 11 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, which, understand that's going to be a thing when you're a rookie. He also averages 4 for 40 on the ground, and he's found the end zone on the ground as well. But when you extrapolate that out over a 17-game pace, you're looking at 3,500 yards passing, 23 touchdowns with another 700 yards on the ground. Anybody is going to take that. He gets pressured at the 6th highest rate in the league. New England, they've got some issues there in the offensive line, but he completes 66% of his throws against pressure, the 5th best mark in the league. And his 57.6% pressured catchable ball rate is 9th best. Again, pretty damn good for a rookie. And that's even more impressive when you consider the lack of talent among his pass catching core. Hunter Henry is fine at tight end, but I don't think anybody, at least in their right mind, would consider him near elite. As a result, he doesn't really work downfield all that much. His 8.2% deep throw rate is the 10th lowest. To put it another way, it's a little bit worse than what Daniel Jones was doing. You don't really want to be in that kind of company. It doesn't really help either that he's really struggled against cover 3 defense, throwing more than half of his picks and averaging just 5.9 yards per attempt against that coverage. Honestly, I think he's probably best served as a QB2 play in Superflex and 2 QB leagues, considering the matchups. But you want to remember, and we've talked about it pretty much all season long, running quarterbacks are a cheat code, and he is more than capable of breaking one. They give him consistent carries on the ground, whether they're designed or just scrambles on his part, but still that ability to keep plays alive, to move the chains with his legs, that can equal fantasy gold.
Yeah, For sure. I mean, I like that his floor is so high because of that rushing ability, and he makes you, if you need a very safe play, like you mentioned in 2 QB leagues, he'd be a good option.
I think so too. We've got another quarterback for you who has an absolutely amazing matchup coming up this Monday against the Bengals. And since being thrust into service with Dak Prescott's injury, Cooper Rush, don't sleep on him. He's not been half bad.
No, he's started 4 games, and to his credit, he hasn't been horrible in 3 of them. He had that stinker against Philly, was pretty bad, but in those 4 games, he's averaged 265 in the air per game, and he's thrown for 4 total touchdowns. And he's directed back-to-back wins there for Dallas as well. He's looking more competent. I think he's growing more confident as well, and seems to be getting on the same page as his receivers. Last week, he was 21 of 36, 195 yards, threw 1 touchdown, no picks, which is good, and didn't take a sack, which is huge as well. Over the last 3 weeks, Rush is QB 20, averaging 15.7 points per game. This guy's not really going to air it out. His yards per attempt are just 5.4 on the year. That's pretty much in the basement there. I think he's bottom 3. But on the safe side, the Cowboys are relying more on a short passing game. He's been getting the ball out in about 2.5 seconds or less on about 80% of his attempts, while averaging just over 4 completed air yards per completion. Is not very good. And among his 112 completions, 84% have been for 9 yards or less. And I doubt you see many changes in that game plan, right? He's going to take some deep shots now and then. Of course he will. Things will happen in games, but his primary goals are to, one, definitely take care of the ball, which he's been doing well, and just get the ball in the playmakers' hands that are on the team. But speaking of those playmakers, they really need to step up. Okay. And Rush has 10 freaking passes dropped by his pass catchers. That's a ton in just 4 games that he has played. So Matt mentioned the matchup this week for week 14 against the Bengals. That may not be, the highest upside play, but I think Rush has some streaming potential this week. The Bengals have allowed the most fantasy points to quarterbacks since week 8, and they've allowed multiple touchdown passes to QBs in each of their last 3 games. And the fantasy-friendly, matchups really continue a couple weeks after that, with games at Carolina and Tampa Bay, both teams in the bottom 7 in points allowed to QBs since week 8, which, that should elevate him for deep league streaming options every week, I would think.
Yeah, I know in our home league, which is a super flex, I've got Brock Purdy as my QB2. And I mean, full disclosure, I'm considering looking at Cooper Rush. That Niners team is just done. They're done. They're toast. They're toast as much as Kirk Cousins is toast.
Yeah, for sure. Toast. Any questions in the chat? Doesn't look like
no, just why I look this way, but
cool beans. All right. You guys have heard of the next man up strategy. That's the mindset where, there's always someone on your roster who can step in and take over an injured player's role pretty admirably. Who is week 14's next man up? Well, it's Isaac Guerendo, of course.
Yep. Guess who's hurt again? Both CMC and Jordan Mason are on IR. If it were me and I had any fab left, I burned through mine weeks ago. I'd be dumping everything I had into Isaac Guerendo. I spent some time. I watched all 42 of his rush attempts this season. I think he's a pretty damn good back. He's got good burst. The vision is okay. He'll run decisively, but he really needs to learn to be a little bit more patient and waiting for the lanes to develop. He's never going to be the fastest player on the field, but considering his size, he comes in at 6 foot 220. He shows decent speed and he's fast enough to get to the corner. And he ran a 4.33 at the combine. He is another converted wide receiver. He played wide receiver in high school where he was a state champion long jumper and sprinter. Went to Wisconsin. He was there for 5 years. Didn't really see the field a whole hell of a lot. He transferred to Louisville last year where he really showed. He showed what he could do, and then the Niners scooped his ass up in the fourth. He rarely goes down on first contact. He'll run through contact, and what I like is he falls forward every time. Being a former wide receiver, he's got good hands. He's really a threat to house it anytime he touches the ball. And he does have the benefit of running behind PFF's top-rated run blocking line. You want to understand, Trent Williams is out. Him and his wife lost a child, or was stillborn or something. I forget all the details, but shitty situation all around. Next up for the Niners are the Bears. They allow the 6th most points to running backs. After that, he gets the Rams, who are bottom half against running backs. It's kind of downhill from there with matchups against the Dolphins, who are top half of the league, versus running backs in the Lions championship week, who allow the 2nd fewest points to the position. Quite frankly, whoever starts for the 49ers at running back is somebody you want. And this is another situation where you can disregard the name, focus on the role. And if you do that, look, if Kyle was starting for the 49ers, I would have interest and I'd be throwing fab money on it. Just that scheme is so good there. And we saw it not only from Kyle Shanahan, but we saw it with his dad too, with the Broncos back in the day. He was churning out 1,000-yard rushers. He plucked a dude from the fucking Marines and Mike Anderson and turned him into a 1,000-yard rusher. They did sign Izzy Abanikanda off the Jets practice squad. They got him off waivers today from the Jets. He's another dude I think would really be a nice fit in that scheme, but it's going to take him a minute to get up to speed. I think Guerendo is a fantastic play this week and somebody who, yes, burn your top waiver priority, throw your fab at it, get him on your team. Chances are he's going to be starting for the rest of the year, and we see how Kyle Shanahan coaches. He loves to just ride one running back. And it's looking like Guerendo is going to be that dude. He's going to get the volume. We know what that offense is like. He's somebody who could help win you a league.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It is a full use the rest of your fab money on him. It'd be definitely a great bid, smart bid. Throw it all on there. Hopefully you still got 25-ish bucks left. So we got Mr. Magic in here. Welcome to the show. Pick one in a full PPR: Thielen, Keenan Allen, or Hopkins.
That's a good one. You know what? Shame on me for not having the schedules up. My gut instinct is to say Thielen just because he's going to dominate targets. But at the same time, like, what is the quality of those targets going to be? So what do we got here? The Chefs
got the Eagles.
Oh, God, that's terrible.
Yeah.
The Chefs get the Chargers. That is a plus matchup for wide receivers over the back half of the season here. The Bears are playing the Niners. There's been really some inconsistent play at QB and really all over the offense this season there for the Bears. Granted, they've been a little bit better here over the past couple of weeks. I'm going to go with D-Hop on this one. I think he's got the best matchup. He's in the best situation. I know earlier in the season, a few weeks ago, we were kind of waiting to see how things were going to shake out with D-Hop and Juju Smith-Schuster. And Juju is just a non-entity pretty much. So, yeah, roll with D-Hop. He'll help you out.
I agree. 100%. Good take.
Well, thank you. I certainly hope so. So now we're going to pivot to wide receiver, and Taysom Hill is out for the year, and it's just been an absolutely terrible season for the Saints at pass catcher injuries to pretty much everybody. But there is one man still standing, and that's Marquez Valdes-Scantling.
Yeah, at this point, they're putting that roster together there, at least on the receiving end, with just a bunch of practice squad players. So you got MVS. He's a deep play threat, been that pretty much his whole career there. He caught 2 of 3 targets this past week for 36 yards, found pay dirt, which is huge. Finished wide receiver 35 in PPR. And since week 9, that was his first game as a Saint. He is wide receiver 27 in PPR. So he's right there at that high wide receiver 3 or a flex, if you want to say. I like that. and he's got the 4 touchdowns across this past 3 games and has at least 36 receiving yards in each game. So not a ton of yardage there, but he's not receiving a ton of volume, just a 9.9 target share since he's been with the Saints, but he's receiving quality opportunities, right? And with, as Matt mentioned, Taysom Hill out for the season. MVS is the favorite to be the team's top fantasy catcher rest of the season, with a lot, some high upside too, because of that big playability he has. And, the team is just freaking desperate for anyone who can make some critical catches on the field. And speaking of on the field, MVS is on the field too. Critical for fantasy, running a route 158 times out of 170 pass snaps. So he's out there. Among wide receivers with 15 plus targets, he's second best in YAC per reception at just over 10 yards, and he ranks 22nd in passer rating when targeted. Pretty good. I don't know if he can keep this up for the rest of the season, but I do think he continues hot streak of catching deep touchdowns for at least one more week. They have the Giants. They head to the Meadowlands this weekend, and the Giants on the year have been very, very poor at defending the deep ball all year. They've allowed the 6th most deep passing yards per game and the highest passer rating on deep passes this season. The floor may be, pretty incredibly low for him, but I think his ceiling's just too good to pass up. Still owned in about 70% of leagues. I'll put MVS in my flex this week if you need some upside, but understand you'll have to embrace the risk as well.
Yes, there is a lot of risk there. I mean, dude's floor is the damn floor.
Yeah,
but his ceiling is 5 for 180 and 2 touchdowns. You just have to deal with that risk.
Absolutely.
All right, Mr. Magic is back. He's got another question. How about Sam Darnold, Matthew Stafford, or Caleb Williams for the playoffs? If you just go on talent for the quarterback and you look at the surrounding cast, I would want to say Stafford, right?
Yeah.
But he's got kind of a rough schedule coming up, as does Caleb Williams. Dubo, you're going to like this one. I'm actually going to go with Sam Darnold on this one.
Excellent. That'll make him happy.
Yep. Dubo says Singing Sam is the answer.
Of course.
Appreciate the endorsement, Dubo.
Slinging Sam or Singing Sam?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. He's going to be crying Sam here after week 18 when their asses go on the road in the playoffs.
All right, next receiver we got. 5 pass catchers have scored 8 or more touchdowns this season. Jamar Chase, ARSB, Terry McLaurin, tight end George Kittle, and tight end George Kittle. The other guy has done it in less games and with just 20 receptions. He's getting more targets as of late, and he has one of the best remaining schedules for wide receivers. I'm talking about Nick Westbrook-Ikhine with the Titans.
Yeah, all this dude does is score touchdowns, but he's no Chris Carter, right?
No, that's true.
He is the wide receiver 22 since week 7 in points per game. And, we're all sitting back and enjoying his 5th-year breakout. You mentioned it. He's got 20 grabs. 8 of them went to the damn house, and he's found the end zone in 7 of his last 8 games. That is not at all sustainable. Not in this universe, any universe, this season, any season. Like, this shit just doesn't work that way. Kudos to him for pulling it off thus far, though. But let's look a little bit deeper. He's started 5 of the last 6 games for the Titans. He's got an 85% plus snap share in each of the last 6 games. He leads the team wide receiver group in snaps since week 8, and that includes Calvin Ridley. He's seen 5 or more targets in 4 of his last 5 games. He has as many red zone targets as Darnell Mooney, Malik Neighbors, Devonta Smith, and Puka Nacua over the last 6 weeks. That is 6 targets. Among receivers with 20 or more receptions, his 18.3 yards per reception ranks 5th. He has quarterbacks have a 107.1 passer rating when he's targeted, and he's got a 93.6% route participation. Now, his 14.6 EPA is 60th among the 528 players that have caught a pass this season. With how often Dude is on the field, it's no surprise that his opportunities have increased, and that kind of coincides with improved play from Will Levis since his return from a 3-game absence due to injury. At the end of the day, like, Dude is still a desperation wide receiver 4-5 flex play that to this point is entirely dependent on touchdowns to have any kind of relevance. But Dude's doing his part in that department. And as long as Will Levis continues to look his way, there's an opportunity there, right? And look, he's kept this streak going now. Fuck it. Ride it. I mean, it's going to come to an end at some point, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like that game of musical chairs, and you don't want to be the only one standing when the music stops. But at the same time, if he can help you get the dub this week to get you into the playoffs, shit, you're going to be thankful. Buy that man a beer.
Absolutely. Mr. Magic, another question. Excluding Guerendo, who's the best running back available in most leagues? I responded in the chat that's pretty much really only all handcuffs left. Who's the best handcuff out there, you think?
You know, I would say probably as it stands right now, I would say Zach Charbonnet, just from the standpoint of Ken Walker has not really been playing all that well. Seattle still has some playoff hopes. I mean, they still have designs on winning that NFC West that it seems like nobody wants to win this year. If I'm going to pick somebody up as like a lottery ticket and I can't get Guerendo, I don't have the fab, I don't have the waiver priority, and Zach Charbonnet is sitting out there on the wire, I'd take a chance on him.
Yeah. Jaleel McLaughlin, is that a guy that answers? He actually had most of the work, I think, yesterday, but there for Denver. But, you know, a month ago, Estime did and didn't do nothing the following week. How do you feel about Jaleel McLaughlin?
I really don't, because that is a 3-headed monster backfield.
Yeah.
And I really don't want any part of backfields like that. And you could say the same for what's going on with the Chargers with Gus and Kamani Vidal and Hassan Haskins. When there's just 2 dudes that are getting the carries, okay, we can kind of project that. We can allow for that. But when there's 3 guys who are getting touches and are involved, not so much.
Did you say Hassan Haskins?
Yeah.
Talk about Denver's backfield, by the way. Denver's
No, I was, yeah, I understand that.
Oh, okay.
I also referenced another backfield with 3 guys trying to keep up here.
No, I missed it because I was reading comments. My bad. I'm like, why is he talking about Haskins? Anyway, I'll shut my face.
Yes. So anyways, I'm not really interested in McLaughlin. And I saw an interesting stat just before we come on here in his last 2 games. Javonte Williams has 12 carries for -1 yard and 1 touchdown.
Nice. Next question for Mr. Magic. Hawk or Ertz for rest of the playoffs?
Oh,
Ertz has been a top 10 guy, solidly. He's scoring touchdowns. He's got 3 in a row, 3 games in a row where he scored a touchdown. And Daniels is his QB. Makes me want to go with Ertz, but because there's just, you know, outside of McLaurin, not much else to throw there, too.
Not really. Washington. Especially with Eckler going on IR.
Isn't Noah Brown hurt too?
That I'm not sure of. I mean, he very well may be, and he's somebody who looked like he was starting to emerge, but
yeah, he can't. He went out with rib injury this game, so we'll find out more about him tomorrow probably. But Ertz is on bye this week. I like him for the playoffs.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. It's pretty damn close, though.
Yeah. I mean, you got New Orleans and New Orleans, Philadelphia might be tougher. And then Atlanta in week 17. I like both of those. So Ertz for me. Hungry Ronan, welcome back. Would you drop Wilson, Metcalf, Jennings, Jonnu Smith, or Pacheco for Guerendo? That is, which Wilson is that? That's Garrett Wilson? No. Metcalf? No. Jennings?
If I'm dropping, well, and it depends on which Wilson that is. Garrett Wilson, there ain't no way in hell. If it's Russ, sure, why not? I ain't dropping DK. Jennings, I think San Francisco's kind of headed nowhere fast, but he really seems to be dominating the targets there, and
yes.
I don't want to drop him. Jonnu Smith, fucking the Dolphins offense runs through this guy for whatever
Number two.
reason.
The Dolphins are number 2 in EPA since Tua came back.
Yeah. And Tua's like the highest scoring QB over the last 4 weeks too. Isaiah Pacheco, I'm not going to drop a running back with fresh legs at this point in the season who has, I assume he's going to have that bell cow role there in Kansas City.
Fresh legs is the key.
Yep. Kareem Hunt did an admirable job filling in, but just he was so damn inefficient. He was just getting things done with volume, really. So yeah, it depends on who that Wilson is. If it's Garrett, no way. If it's Russ, yes. Otherwise, I'm hanging on to the rest of that group. But it also depends too. Spock makes a good point. Depends on your roster composition, what things look like at running back for you. If you really need a running back, yeah, he says it is Garrett Wilson. If I was going to drop anyone for Guerendo, it would probably be Jennings, but it really depends on, do you need the running back? Are you picking Guerendo up so your league mates don't get him? Is he somebody who's just going to sit on your bench?
That's true. Lots of questions.
Yes.
Next up.
Yeah. So Brandin Cooks had knee surgery. Then that shit got infected. He ended up on IR. Well, now he's back giving Cooper Rush another target to throw to. And, we're all getting to witness the emergence of Cavante Turpin into whatever the hell he's going to be. Brandin Cooks has been a good receiver in this league for a long time. He can still get downfield. Kyle, is he worth taking a look at?
I suppose. This is just, some depth pieces here, really 10% owned. He's just coming back. Like you mentioned, he missed about 7 weeks. He caught 3 of 7 targets for 16 yards last week, did score a touchdown, got 10.6 PPR points, finished wide receiver 38. So not horrible, but despite the unimpressive numbers, I don't mind him for a speculative ad for the rest of the season. Week 13, he received a pretty damn high grade from PFF in the top 25. I like that. And, the Cowboys were beating the Giants pretty much the whole game. They ran way more than they passed, but Cook still ran a route on 20 of 22 passing snaps. I like that. Earned a 51.4 route share and a 19.4 target share. That 19.4 might not be as high. Remember, Lamb was out of this game for a while as well. So, assuming the Cooper Rush-led Cowboys aren't blowing teams out, which seems pretty unlikely, they should be passing a hell of a lot, right? And plus, like I mentioned, CeeDee Lamb, he's banged up. He's been toughing it out. But, you're the Cowboys and you're staring up at the standings. I wouldn't be surprised, if they opt to rest Lamb, meaning more opportunities for Brandin Cooks. Plus, Cooks, as you mentioned, he's been in the league a long time. He's easy for the quarterback to trust. It's his 11th season. He's played for 5 or 6 different teams, played with Tom Brady, Drew Brees, some damn good quarterbacks. I think he's an interesting flex play moving forward with a wonderful, wonderful schedule over the next 3 weeks. In weeks 14 through 16, they face the Bengals, Panthers, and Bucks, teams that have just bled out production to receivers all year. Even though the Panthers, I guess, they have been a little bit better in the last 4 or 5 weeks. For week 14 this week, I like Cooks very much. The Bengals have allowed 9 different wide receivers to score double-digit fantasy points against them in their last 5 games.
That doesn't sound like that's very good for on the Bengals side there.
Nope, it's not. Definitely, you got fantasy players. Hopefully they're playing the Bengals this week because I think that would be a good fit. Good fit.
We got Nell here in the chat. Drop Herbert for Kyler.
I'm not. I know we talk about rushing quarterbacks, cheat codes. Kyler has not looked very good really all year.
No, he really hasn't. We're not really seeing. There was an uptick though in passing volume for Herbert, and I don't know. It seemed to come back down. And what really is scary to me is the injury to Ladd McConkey. Quite frankly,
yeah.
Okay. If McConkey ends up missing time, like they're going to be hurting there. fuck it. I would. Let me go with Kyler.
Alrighty. Bengals D has been Swiss cheese. Yep. Captain makes a great point. Like and sub if you can. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, and every Sunday at 12 noon Eastern, taking your last minute questions live before lineups lock. And Wuno, Caleb Williams is on waivers. Should pick them up. Got Herbert and Baker on my team. I'd still keep rolling with Baker. Honestly.
Yeah. So would I. You can leave Caleb Williams on waivers there.
Yep. And yes, we got the rest of that. Okay. What we got left here? Another receiver.
Yes.
Holy crap. Browns slot receiver Elijah Moore has had 3 top 24 finishes since Jameis Winston took over at QB. I think he's the type of player who should be considered for lineups really each and every week going forward, as long as Winston's the QB. How about you, Matt?
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. Since Winston took over in week 8, Elijah Moore is the wide receiver 35 in points per game. That makes him a legit wide receiver 3. 3 of his 5 games have been over 16 PPR points. He's got 2 games with less than 6. That ain't great, but it is what it is. He is 14th in targets over these last few weeks here with 48. His 22.2% target share has him in the top 30 at the position, as does his 311 receiving yards. He has at least 6 targets in 5 of his last 6 games, including 2 with 12 or more. He has dealt with a lot of off-target throws from Winston, though. Just 29 of his 48 targets have been catchable. It's not great. That is partly explained by him being targeted more down the field. He is top 10 in air yards at the position with 563. 28 receptions that he's got is tied for 18th in that time frame with A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams, and Garrett Wilson. Some pretty damn good company. Got a tough matchup this week against the Steelers, who are top 10 against a wide receiver, but up after that are the Chiefs and the Bengals, who are both bottom half of the league against the position, and volume is not going to be a concern. The Browns have at least 40 pass attempts in each game Winston has started, other than the snow game against Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago, and still, even then, he was up around 30. It'd be nice if he found his way to the end zone. He has just 1 touchdown this year. Cedric Tillman is still in the concussion protocol, and if he misses the game again this week, I think we should see a similar workload to what he had yesterday, where he went 8 for 111 on 14 targets. And when you throw the ball that much, where you're averaging over 40 attempts per game, and Jameis spreads the ball around a lot. There are really 4 legitimate pass catchers on that team when you include Njoku and Jerry Jeudy, who just went balls out last night. And the aforementioned Cedric Tillman, who's concussed, but still Elijah Moore has been quietly doing this now over the last several weeks. He can give you volume, which is what you need, especially in a PPR league, right? Yep. If you can give me somebody who's going to be targeted around 10 times a game, I don't give a shit who it is or who their quarterback is. That person's got a spot on my team.
Yep, for sure. I really like, they have the Chiefs coming up. Is it this week? Next week?
Next week. They got Pittsburgh this week.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's going to be tough. And the Chiefs are pretty damn good defense as well, but they have been unable to stop slot receivers this year. The Chiefs have. So I like that play in a couple weeks as well. Elijah Moore's a good pickup. Solid pick. Of all the guys on this list, it's Guerendo I want to pick up first, and then Elijah Moore second.
Yeah, agree wholeheartedly. I'm surprised he's available in, we'll call it 90% of leagues.
Yeah.
But he's been doing it quietly, though. Cedric Tillman went off, and Jerry Jeudy has been getting some press. Njoku was drafted, so it's not like he was sitting out there on waivers. And then Elijah Moore bounced around to a couple teams. He was with the Jets back in the day, and he was a shithead and didn't perform. And his career has really gotten new life, not only with the move to Cleveland, but with Jameis Winston coming in behind center.
Yep, definite good stuff. Even Dubo agrees. Snatched up more last night before he hit waivers. Leagues that have that.
Smart guy.
Most of them lock. Mr. Magic's got a quick question. Looking for a DST this week. Saints, Giants, Chargers, Chiefs, Bengals versus Dallas, or Seattle versus the Cards. I put it in the chat. I love the Saints this week only versus the Giants. That's a team just they can't do really anything right. It's the second lowest total on the board on DraftKings right now. Personally, I like the Saints.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that as well. I'm not starting the Bengals defense against anybody. That Chargers Chiefs game I could see being a low scoring affair, but it is still, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. I think the Saints are probably the best play there. After that, I would go Chargers. Seattle versus the Cards. I don't know.
I don't like that either. Let's see. Michael Bricky, have to play Pitts for Hunter Henry's bye. Could I snag Disley or Juwan Johnson? Maybe with Tay out, Johnson gets more targets. Yeah. How about we just roll into that?
Yeah. Why don't you tell us what Juwan Johnson can do for us, and we'll hook Michael up with an answer.
Yeah, you're right. The receiving room there is decimated. Taysom Hill's gone with a season-ending injury. Juwan Johnson moves up the pecking order along with MVS for a Saints team that's having real trouble fielding a complete team of pass catchers. In week 13, he caught 5 of 7 for 36 yards. He hit season highs in route participation, 88%, and target share, 20.6. In fact, his target share is ranked 12th best among tight ends this past week 13. And among 32 tight ends with 35 plus targets, Johnson has a top 12 PFF receiving grade. I was kind of shocked on that. And you look at some more of the numbers, he's kind of playing a big slot role for the Saints right now. He's running over 40% of his routes from the slot last week. In fact, Johnson is tied for a team high 10 catches out of the slot this year, half of which have came in the last 5 games. And, I mentioned earlier during MVS, they're just down to practice squad call-ups. The Saints are going to be forced to give Juwan Johnson more work in the coming weeks, this week, for sure. His ceiling's a little bit capped there because, when he doesn't hit pay dirt, it's not as bad, but I think he could see a hell of a volume target volume this week. I don't love the next 2 matchups. I think he's got the Giants and Commanders. They're a little tougher against tight ends, but I still think he's going to draw enough targets to put himself on that streaming radar like you're asking there. Weeks 16 and 17, last 2 weeks of the fantasy playoffs, faces Packers and Raiders, teams that are in the bottom 6 in PPR points allowed to tight ends. To answer your question, I like Juwan Johnson over Disley or where was it? Did I miss it?
Pitts.
Yeah. Pitts, nothing. Kirk Cousins is toast. He's done.
He is. And so we blame Kyle Pitts' lack of production on Arthur Smith. And now Arthur Smith is gone and Pitts still ain't doing shit. And there comes a point when we have to ask the question that is Pitts the problem?
Yeah. It's just so weird.
Or do we want to blame it on Cousins?
And he hit that when he hit 1,000 yards his rookie season, I'm like, oh shit, this cat's going to be great. And then he just regressed every season since then.
Yeah, he has. I go with Juwan Johnson. I mean, he's flashed in seasons past as well. He's been fantasy relevant, not for full seasons, but just, in stretches here and there.
Yep. I like that. Good question, Michael. Good luck with that. Yeah, grab Johnson, like him. Extended Mags from the Twitch. Start 1, Purdy or Herbert? I think I know your answer.
So Purdy has the Bears, but they're more of a run funnel defense. They're very good against the pass and in the secondary. Justin Herbert's going up against the Chefs. The way you beat them is through the air. I'm going to say Herbert if Ladd McConkey plays. If Ladd is out, I'm going Purdy.
Yeah. Michael says he has Tillman, or I'd grab Moore. Moore seems like a way better play than Quentin Johnston. That's because he is.
Yes.
A much better play than Quentin Johnston.
Quentin Johnston, if you're in like a point per drop league, then he's a wide receiver 1.
Love it. Now back. Do you think Tracy Jr. gets the bulk of carries again? And would you start him over DJ Moore?
I think Tyrone Tracy
or David Moore or I don't know who the hell that is.
It ain't gonna be David Moore. His ass
hope
ain't
not.
rostered anywhere.
Oh,
Look,
he's somewhere.
yeah, I mean Carolina, maybe in like a 5 wide receiver league or
Yeah.
something like that. No, Tyrone Tracy is fantastic. He can do it through the air. He can do it running the ball. The Saints defense is okay. They're nothing really special. And he followed up. It's DJ Moore.
Okay.
I think Tyrone Tracy is going to lead that backfield for the rest of the season. And if you're deciding between DJ Moore and Tyrone Tracy, this tells me it's a flex spot. My rule for the flex generally is I'm always going to go with a running back over a receiver simply because they're going to get more opportunities, and opportunity is what you need to score. I'm going to go with Tracy.
Yep. Let's see. What do we got here? Michael Bricky holding Penix hard in Dynasty. I bet you are.
Yes.
I talked about it with Matt this weekend. And I'm like, that Penix pick is looking better every week. Every week that Kirk Cousins looks like fucking shit.
Mm-hmm. I hold my Penix hard every day.
Yep.
And sometimes softer, faster, slower is what it is.
Dubo, Garrett Wilson over Brian Thomas Jr. this week. Rodgers' failures killing Wilson last week. Yeah, it's rough. I think in a Sunday somebody had a question about BTJ and we said definitely start him. He scored, right? Yeah, he scored.
And it sucks because you look at the target share that Wilson has got over the past, we'll call it 6 weeks. I mean, shit, he's up over 30%. You want to take that all the time, but just that Jets entire team is just falling apart before our very eyes. And as somebody who has, FTP tattooed on my forehead and had to watch Aaron Rodgers play up there in Green Bay for so long, damn, I love to see it. God, that guy's just such a dick.
Yep, not a fan. Never have been. Mr. Magic, would you play Purdy over Darnold? I think.
Over Darnold. No, I'm going to go with Darnold at home against the Falcons. I think the Falcons are getting ready to fold up.
I agree. Next one, we got I lost my spot. Extended Mags on the Twitch. Start 2. Lamb, Hopkins, Quentin Johnston, or Tillman. I'm thinking, Jesus, what Hopkins and Tillman if he's good to go from his concussion. Otherwise, start Lamb.
I'm going to go Lamb and Hopkins.
Lamb and Hopkins. Okay.
Yeah, I'm really not a big fan of that matchup with the Steelers. These divisional games in December, they get kind of shitty sometimes, especially in the AFC North. Quentin Johnston should not be a consideration for you.
And who saw Pittsburgh and Cincinnati scoring almost 80 points or over 80 points the other day? That was insane. Insane.
My previous point still stands that game, disregarding.
Right. Is Schrader the kicker for the Chiefs while Butker on IR? When's Butker available to come back?
I think he's got 2 more weeks.
Does he? God, has it been that long already? Yeah. Jesus. No. Well, hell, I don't know when they put him on there, but he hasn't played 11, 12, or 13.
Oh, all right. So he's got at least 1 more week then.
Yep. Schrader's a good, I don't know if, you want kickers and good offenses, so he's not a horrible option. McLaughlin from Tampa Bay would be a good option, maybe over Schrader this week.
And what's his name? Reichert from the Vikings is back as well.
There you go. Patrick's in here with a question. Drop Cousins, yes, for Jameis or Wilson. Starting Herbert right now. Second question, drop Javonte for Benson.
I'm done with Kirk Cousins. I like Jameis Winston. We know he's going to throw it a lot. And he's got a nice little group of pass catchers there in Cleveland. Russ, don't go chasing that 400-yard game. We know what Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin want to do, and that's, just beat you into submission on the ground. That game last week was an aberration.
Yeah. And would you drop Javonte Williams for Trey Benson?
I mean,
you really don't know. It's a 3-headed monster in Denver. You don't really know who's going to be the man.
Why not? I mean, Trey Benson, if anything happens to James Conner, he's going to have amazing upside. And that's what you need, especially this time of year is, give me that giant upside if something happens. Javonte Williams does not have giant upside.
No.
he has -1 rushing yard over his last 12 attempts with 1 touchdown. And I don't even understand how that happens.
I don't either. Tyler Sperry, welcome back. Kraft, Fryermuth, or Johnson. He has Otten, but he stinks. Now he stinks because Mike Evans is back. He has Reed. If it's Kraft, he would have Reed, Kraft, AJ Brown, and Jalen Hurts. I think Johnson is Juwan Johnson. I'm still going with him. I think he's going to see a lot of targets this week.
Yeah, probably.
Working out of primarily the slot.
Yep. Lean towards the volume.
And then Dubo. How about Justin? Best kicker, really in the league in the last 10, 12 years with the yips. Missing some easy kicks.
Can happen to anybody.
Sure can.
Maybe he needs to sit down and watch Bull Durham for how to cure that. Get some time with Crash Davis.
And of course, Justin Tucker broke our hearts, a couple seasons ago with
that
66
yarder. God, that was such bullshit.
It was. Julian Garcia, welcome to the show. He dropped Cousins for Caleb Williams. Start Caleb versus Niners over Goff versus the Packers. We're at home, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm starting. I would go Goff. If that's your choices.
Yeah, I'm going to go Goff as well. Just
I don't like anything going on.
I don't really trust Caleb Williams right now.
Let's see. Mr. Magic, which Raiders running back do you like the most? They've still been dealing with injuries to Zamir White, Alexander Madison. You've seen Amir Abdullah fill in a lot. You've seen the new guy, Sincere. His name's Sincere. What is it? Yeah. McCormick or something?
Like that. Something Irish.
They all suck. I wouldn't really go with any running back from the Raiders. Listen, this is week 14. Like, you're either in the playoffs, trying to get in the playoffs. I totally believe in getting behind players and starting those players, in good offenses. The Raiders is not a good offense.
No, it's not. But, at this time of year, we do what we have to do. If Madison is a go, he's going to get the volume, and that's who I'd go with. Zamir White, what he did last year in that little 4-game stretch was just a mirage. He's a jag and nothing more. Amir Abdullah has been around for a damn decade, and he ain't done shit. I
started Amir Abdullah.
Right. I started him a couple of weeks ago against the Chiefs, last Friday against the Chiefs, and got lucky because he found the end zone, and that was it. He offers you nothing else. And really, any of those options are going to be touchdown dependent for any kind of halfway decent day. I like Madison the best, but none of them are really great options.
Yeah. We got Hayden Hamoki. Welcome to the show. Kincaid, Goddard, or Otten? If Goddard, I think Goddard's probably going to go on IR, or at least short-term IR from what I've read today.
Yeah, and really he's best suited to start when one of AJ Brown or Devonta Smith is out. So that leaves us with Kincaid or Otten. Otten has kind of cooled off. Process of elimination. We're going to go with Kincaid.
Yeah. So if Juwan Johnson is available in Hayden's league, would you choose him instead of Kincaid?
Yes.
There you go, Hayden. I bet you he's available. Go grab him. Extended Mags back. Start 2 running backs. Monty, Walker, or Kyron Williams? I'm thinking Monty and Kyron.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Walker is he's not looked good over the last several weeks.
No. Julian
and Monty also hates the Packers.
Yes, he does. Julian Garcia, start Jake Ferguson. If healthy, his backup is Disley. Ugh. Yeah. Ferguson should see, a lot of work if he is back, because he's going to work in the short part of the field, and that's about as far as Cooper Rush is allowed to throw.
So the issue you're going to run into is the Cowboys play Monday night.
Yep.
So you're going to need to keep an eye on practice reports through the week here, see what happens. If you see Jake Ferguson go, limited tomorrow, if you can see him as a full participant by Friday, then chances are he's going to play.
Yeah, because he's at 2 weeks now post-concussion, so hopefully he can pass the rest of the protocols.
Yeah, and Disley, The matchup isn't the greatest, but if you're going to beat the Chiefs, it's through the air, and that game is Sunday night. So, you're going to have pretty much all day Sunday to make your position.
What will get you this week?
Dude,
Big fat 0.
That's happened to me like a few weeks in a row. I had Tucker Kraft, and he got me fuck all. Tight end, unless you've got one of the top 3 or 4 options, just flip a coin because all of them are going to be touchdown dependent.
Yeah. Let's see. Extended mags. Yes. Stupid ads, man. YouTube's gay. Or not. I shouldn't say that word.
Especially since he's on Twitch.
Right. Yes, it is Twitch. Sorry about that. So your question was Monty, Walker, and Kyron. We both agreed Monty and Kyron.
Yes.
The volume's there, and Walker, like Matt said, hasn't not looked good the last few weeks.
It is kind of surprising though to see, like, with Kyron, how inefficient he's been this year.
And some fumbling issues too. That's why you saw a bunch of Blake Corum in the beginning of that game the other day. That's a toughie. JSN over DK. I think you still stick with DK, right?
But JSN is really coming on.
He's emerging.
I'm going to go with DK. Wait a minute. No, maybe I'm not. Let me check something here. Talk while I do this.
Blah, 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 blah. JSN has really blossomed. I wish he would have had a different offensive coordinator last season, not Shane Waldron, because I think he would have done a hell of a lot better in real life and in fantasy this year. But Matt is right. He is emerging quite a bit. And let's see. Would you start Bucks D against the Raiders or Bears against a banged up Niners? Kind of like the Bears. I like the Bears in that one.
Yeah, I'm not trusting that Bucks D against anybody. Back to who was asking about that? Mr. Magic. Yes. So DK Metcalf in 10 games against the Cardinals has averaged 3 receptions for 30 yards per game. I'm going to go with JSN. Just for whatever reason, that team seems to own him. 10 starts. He has 58 targets, 27 receptions for 304 yards, and he's found the end zone twice.
And Julian made a smart move. Dropped Disley, grabbed Gesicki as he plays Monday night too for insurance. That's smart. That's what you need to be as a fantasy manager. Get those backup plans in place if at all possible.
Sure.
And Brady, we got you. Howdy, man. If you got any questions, shoot them in the chat here. We got a few more minutes before we're out of here. We'll ask or answer any question you got.
What's up, Brady? Thanks for joining us.
Heck yeah. If you haven't already, give us a like and subscribe here every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then, of course, we're available Sunday at 12 noon Eastern, taking all your last-minute questions.
Oh,
Captain Spock just hanging. Spock's got the good stuff. He comes through with some good stats here and there. We love everybody that's in the chat. You guys make this all fun, worthwhile. Love it. We got, if we're waiting for some things, we'll talk about the Listener League results last week. Were not very good for me and you. We both lost.
Nope.
And we got a 4-way tie not a 4-way tie. We got 4 teams in it for those last 2 spots. 5 and 6, 1 through 4 are locked up. We'll see who can play spoiler this week. Of course, the same thing happened in the baseball league, did it not, Matt?
Yep, it sure did, and I got in on points, but that shit ain't gonna happen.
No, I don't think it. Well, you see, Lockett's got us all beat in points there. He's over 1,700, so if he wins, he'll definitely get one of the 2 remaining spots. It'll come down to me, you, and our old co-host Ramey.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Good stuff.
I need a miracle to get in there, and then I'll win in the first round, and then take out Dubo and take out Loud Boy after that.
Yep, Loud Boy. Yep, yeah, Loud Boy's been really, really scoring double-digit wins. He won the Listener League for the baseball league. He's trying to sweep them, trying to win both of them this year. Good luck, man. Let's see, Mr. Magic. Drop Kincaid for Ertz.
Well, it ain't going to do you much good this week because Ertz is on bye, But answering that question in a vacuum, yes, Ertz seems to have a more defined role there in the offense with Washington than what Kincaid has been giving you up in Buffalo.
Heck yeah. Brady says he's the most points and he's in 7th place. Yep. I have the most points in our big league, our CBS league, and I'm in 6th. I have the most points by like 140 or something like that, and I'm in 6th, trying to get that last frickin' spot.
Yeah, and that's where luck comes into play.
It does. I was chatting with our league mates in one of our leagues, and I want to play. I don't even know if it's available to set up how you would do it. If there's an option where you can play a league where you don't have any head-to-head matchups, you just go against the average. That's it. So it takes some of the luck out of it. You know, you get somebody that's hot, beats you, this puts up 1,000,000 points and is a team that normally sucks, but they beat you that week and throw you out of the playoffs or something of that nature. It'd be interesting if something like that could be done, but I can't think of the disadvantages of it right now, if it would be a bad move.
You'd lose the element of trash talk in that weekly matchup.
True, but I don't put too much into that unless it's like you.
Yeah. I don't know. And that almost sounds like a baseball roto league, honestly.
In a way, for sure.
Brady says his team name is Andrew Unlucky. I can dig that, man. I can dig that. I remember when Luck retired, sitting there at a draft, watching the look on somebody's face completely sour when they found out that he had retired and that pick was wasted. That's what you get for taking QB early.
Got to pay attention, man. Got to pay attention. So, all right, we're going to get out of here, guys. Give us a like and subscribe. Don't forget that. We'll be back this Thursday at 7 p.m. for Week 14 starts and sits. Take all your questions live and on the replay. If you've missed us live, ask your questions in the comment in any of our videos, for that matter. DM us on X. We got our names there on the screen.
Hold on. We got another question. Extended mags coming back to us. Nope, this shit moved. Here we go. Start one flex. KW3, Kincaid, Tillman, QJ, and Rajai Davis.
Right.
That's actually Ray
Davis. It's Ray Davis. I'm like, we're going baseball reference.
Yeah,
here.
QJ, not happening.
No.
Even if Ladd is out, I still don't want to start QJ.
Are you gonna throw out your volume running back in a flex that you just mentioned a moment ago?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be a hypocrite like 5 minutes later. I would go KW3. If you're not comfortable with that, I go with Tillman.
All right. Brady says he's a diehard Colts fan. Well, we have a bunch of diehard Colts fans that are friends. In fact, Matt lives in the Indianapolis area, so he's very familiar with.
Yeah, and we were just at that.
Yes, we were.
What do we got? Hayden,
pick up MVS, Christian Watson, or Brandin Cooks for a flex. Bye week is hitting his lineup hard. Dude, I over-rostered Texans players. Don't even tell me about it. I got Stroud, Mixon, and Nico out this week in a league because I took a gamble. I like MVS for a flex.
Same. You can't trust Christian Watson.
If Romeo Dobbs is still out, maybe I would consider Siwa against the Lions, but it's MVS for me.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there.
Hungry Ronan, if he could elaborate on his earlier question about dropping someone for Guerendo. His team is Lamar, Puka Nacua, Higgins, Garrett Wilson, Metcalf, Jennings, D. Henry, Chase Brown. I'm going to guess Brian Robinson Jr., Pacheco, McBride, and Jonnu Smith.
It's a hell of a team, dude.
It's not bad. That's not bad. I mean,
I'm probably not going to start Guerendo over Chase Brown. I'm definitely not starting him over Henry. Brian Robinson, I would entertain the thought, based on matchup. Pacheco, I really like as well. If you pick up Guerendo, chances are he's going to be sitting on your bench.
Yeah.
Because you've got some pretty damn good options there.
But you can keep away. That is a strategy. So
it absolutely is.
But all right, we're going to get out of here, guys. Have a good night. We'll see you Thursday.